Okay, so what we're going to do now is set up the thumb rig. Now the ideas are going to be very similar to the finger rig, but we're just going to change a few things around using bone rolls to make it work in Blender and in Unity. So what I want you to do is go ahead and switch this to median point and make sure that this is set to local, and just make sure that only this layer is selected. Now go ahead and click on a bone, go to the data tab, and over here let's turn on the deform bone layer first. And what you want to do is go ahead and select these bones and make sure that you are in edit mode. Press the 1 key, and what we're going to do first is create the non-deform bones. Just do Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, press the Control key down, click on this blue arrow, and just move it up like this. Okay, now go ahead and click on these bones and make sure that the deform is off on all of them. Now here what we want to do is actually name these. So here I'm just going to click on dev, type in M, and just remove this and enter. Go ahead and do the same thing for this one, type in M, go ahead and just remove this, so it just says .l. Look over here, type in M, go ahead and just remove this. Okay, now press the Shift key down, and what we want to do is press the M key and put them on the non-deform bone layer. Press the Shift key down and turn this back on. Now what we want to do is switch to pose mode, and of course tell the deform bones to copy the transforms of these bones. So click on this bone, press the Shift key down, click on this one, just do Shift Control C, and here we're going to do copy transforms. Okay, over here. Now go ahead and switch to edit mode and click on these bones over here. Press the Control key down and put everything back down. Now here we can just go ahead and just select the non-deform layer. Now go ahead and click on this bone and go to the bone tab, and you can see that the parent is not set up correctly. What we want is this to be the parent, m.hand.fk.l. So here I'm just going to do Control C to copy this. Click over here and just do Control V. Okay. Now it's a good idea to always go to pose mode and click on these bones and press the R key 2 times to just make sure that you set this up correctly. Okay. Here I'm just going to press the A key, do Alt R G S to reset everything. Now what we need to do is set up the touch bones. So here what we're going to do is go ahead and switch to edit mode, click on these bones, do Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, press the Control key down, and click on this blue arrow, make them go up. And of course, just you want to make sure that the deform is off, which it should be by default. Now here we're going to call these touch bones. So I'm just going to go ahead and just remove the M over here and type in touch over here, dot, and just go ahead and just remove all this stuff. So it should say this, just do Control C, click over here, click inside, do Control V, and just change this to 2 and enter. Click over here, click inside, do Control V, and over here we're just going to change this to 1 and enter. So these are going to be our touch bones. So press the Shift key down, go ahead and press the M key, and let's go ahead and put this on our touch bone layer. Go to the data tab, press the Shift key down, and turn this back on. Of course we have to do the same thing. Go to pose mode and click on this bone, click on this, do Shift Control C, and do copy transforms, right? Now go ahead and switch this to edit mode. Now here we're going to simply click on these bones, press the Control key down, and move this down over here. Now we can simply just go to the touch bone layer. Make sure when you click on this that the parent is set up correctly. Okay, so this is all set up. Again, you can switch to pose mode and just press the R key 2 times, right click to cancel, right, just to make sure that you did this right. Okay, so now what we need to do is set up the parents for these bones, just like we did on the finger. So this should be pretty straightforward. We're just going to go to edit mode, click over here, and press the E key to extrude out a bone. Now, what I want you to do is click on this bone and look at the parent. We want the parent to stay over here. So this means that we're not going to sever the parent-child relationships with the Y key on this bone. Okay, go ahead and click this, press the E key to extrude out a bone, click on this, extrude out a bone. Okay. Okay, so here we want to make sure that the deform is off first on all these bones. Now, of course, when we name these bones here, what we want to do is actually just type in m dot, and here where it says touch, we're going to make this auto. Go ahead and click over here and just remove this stuff out, right? So just do Control C to copy this. Click over here, click inside, do Control V. In here, I'm just going to do 2 and enter, and click over here, click inside, do Control V, and I'm going to say that this is 1 and enter. Okay, so all of these should be set up correctly. So what we want to do is now align these bones. Now we're going to actually align this bone a little differently a little later, but for now just click over here, press the actually I'm going to click on the tail of this bone, press the G key to make it a little smaller. It's a little too big. Go ahead and click over here, do Control Alt A to just align this, do Control Alt A to align this, go ahead and Control Alt A to align this. Now click on these larger bones and press the Y key to sever the parent-child relationships. Click on these smaller bones and press the Y key to sever the parent-child relationships. Now on this one you don't want to do that because you want the parent to be here. Now of course it's the same thing. We're going to click over here, press the Shift key down, click on this one, and do Control P and set that relationship, right? So the larger bone is going to be the child of the smaller bone. Go ahead and click on this, press the Shift key down, click on this, do Control P, do keep offset. Do the same thing over here. Do Control P and do keep offset. Now here we're going to make these smaller bones the child of the larger bone over here. So click inside, press the Shift key down, click on this, do Control P, do keep offset. Click over here, press the Shift key down, click this, do Control P and do keep offset over here. Okay, so now here what you want to do is to make sure that you did this correctly. So just click this, right click to cancel. You should be able to tell by these relationship lines that you've set this up correctly. Okay, now it's a good idea to go to pose mode and just click on these bones and press the R key 2 times just to make sure that everything is working. And now click on these parents and you'll see that everything moves correctly over here. Okay, so that's all set up. So what we want to do is go ahead and switch to edit mode, click on these smaller bones over here and press the 1 key over here. And now what you want to do is basically look at the thumb in this way. Okay, so here we're going to change the bone rolls now because we want this to work internally inside a blender, right? Because the axis over here really for these the original deformed bones was really aligned for unity. So here we're just going to do Control R to rotate, right? Change the bone roll. So here I'm just going to make sure that the Z axis is pointing down over here, right? So for this thumb, so here I'm just going to go ahead and now click on these individually, do Control R and make it point it down this way. Now don't look at my numbers, right? Look at what's happening on your end visually. That's what you want to get used to. This is an organic model, right? So here I'm just going to look at this and do Control R, maybe kind of position it like this, and then look at this one. And here I'm going to say that, okay, well, you have to visually think about, okay, it's going to kind of rotate in this direction. I'm going to do Control R to maybe rotate it kind of this way. Okay, so this is how our bone rolls are going to be set up. So this will give us the ability to let the finger curl correctly inside a blender. Okay, so that's all set up. So of course what we need now is that larger bone. Now here we're going to go ahead and just click on a joint over here. Now here I'm just going to click over here on the joint until I see like the parent like this. It doesn't really matter though, but here I'm just making it a little easier. So if I press the E key to extrude out a bone and just put it over here, click it, you'll see that I get the same parent. Again, you want this to be the parent. You can of course just go to any bone that has that parent and then paste it over here. Anyway, so what we want to do with this bone is actually put it, click over here and press the G key 2 times to just kind of position it to where the tip of the thumb is, and then just use your 3D view to kind of position it like this and press the G key. Okay, so you're just going to position it kind of like this over here, so it's coming out of the thumb. Now go ahead and click on this bone, do Alt R to reset the bone roll, and here I'm just going to do Control R, and here I'm just going to make the Z-axis point down, kind of like this, okay? So that's settled. Now this is important when you set up this scale like this, okay? This is how, because we're really just going to use this to scale the bone and use it to rotate. Now what we need to do is actually tell this bone to align itself to this bone because it's just a parent, right? So over here, click this, press the shift key down, click on this one, do Control Alt A. Now you have to do this, it's because it's not going to make sense when you tell this bone to copy the rotation of this bone, right? If you have everything aligned, it just makes a lot of sense inside the 3D view. Otherwise, it'll look like it's going all over the place. So anyways, that's all set up. So go ahead and actually click on this bone and make sure that the deform is off. Now what we need to do is actually name this bone. So this bone over here, what we're going to do is call this. Let me take a look at this bone over here. So let's go ahead and just copy this out of here, click over here, click inside, do Control V, and here we're going to actually remove this number from here and enter, right? So it'll be just a touch bound. Now let's go ahead and switch to pose mode. So here what we want to do now is first take a look at these locks. So here I'm going to lock this, and here I'm just going to keep this on quaternion and let the user scale. Okay, that's the first thing over here. Now what we want to do is click on these touch buttons over here. So what we want to do is we don't want the user changing the location. Now in the case of the thumb, I'm just going to leave this as quaternion, is because the thumb really can do interesting things. So let's give the user the ability to rotate it or twist the thumb in any way that they want. So this is okay to do. Now you don't have to agree with me on this, right? You can experiment with either if you want. It's up to you. I'm just going to leave it be. Here, this one, I'm just going to lock the location over here. Make sure that the scale is locked, and I did lock the scale on this, okay? And on this one, the location and scale is locked. Now let's go ahead and click on these little bones over here. Now these bones, we're just going to lock everybody down, okay? Go ahead and click this and lock everybody down over here. And go ahead and click on this one and lock everybody down over here, okay? So all these bones should have their locks all set up. Now what we're going to do is click over here, press the shift key down and click on this one, do shift control C and just do copy rotation, okay? Now here, when we click this and press the R key, you'll notice that why we aligned it. It just makes it easier to work with the thumb. If we didn't align it, it wouldn't make sense as to what's going on. Okay, so we're going to leave this the way it is, okay? Meaning that if you click over here, I'm just going to keep this on world space. Now what we need to do is to do the same thing with the transformation. So click over here, press the shift key down, click on this one, do shift control C and just do transformation, okay? Now over here, click here. Now of course we want to make sure that this is on a local space, and local space, rotation, scale, this has to be on Y, and over here same thing, 1.1 and enter. And over here I'm going to say that this is going to be 100, and this over here is going to be -10 and enter. Okay, now here we want the Y, we want the scale. I guess it didn't took my 1.1 and enter. Okay, now it did. Okay, so this is here. So now when we click this and press the S key, you'll see that how we're getting the thumb to curve correctly inside a blender, right? While at the same time, it's also going to work in Unity, meaning when you import it, the thumb will be correctly aligned. So anyways, do Alt S to reset the scale. Now what we're going to do is click on this bone, press the shift key down and click on this one. Of course, go to pose, go to constraints and just do copy constraints, okay? Now if you click over here and press the S key, this whole thing should rotate, okay? So let's go ahead, click on this, press the shift key down, click on this, and then click on this, press the M key, and we're going to send this to the non-deform layer, okay? So these are going to be our touch bounds over here. So let's go ahead and just press the S key to scale and press the R key 2 times to see that, okay, we can let the user kind of rotate this a little bit. Okay, you don't want to rotate it like this. When you're posing it, you're going to rotate it very slightly like this. And if we press the S key over here, it lets them. And if we click over here and press the R key 2 times, we can really just position it any way that we want. Okay, and over here, press the R key, we can still position it. Okay, now do A Alt R G S to reset everything over here. So if we press the R key 2 times, we can kind of position it and press the S key, right? So I'm just showing you that how to just make sure that everything is set up. Go ahead and press the 7 key. So let's go ahead and now save this. Go into File, Save As, and we're going to save this as rigging lesson 04 y.blend.